My name's Adam Monaco and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
...2018 brings a whole new season of British Championship sidecar racing. We've also changed the title. It's now the Hyundai Construction Equipment British Sidecar Championship. We've got lots of new rules. 600s now compete with the big 1000 cc's on level terms. So we have a true sidecar race for the points. We're here at Brands Hatch for the opening round in what I have to say is the first day of sunshine we've had in the UK over the winter for it seems like forever. Let's hope it stays like this. This is absolutely perfect. Defending champions Tim and Tristan Reeves are not here to keep the others off their title. So it's going to be very interesting. 600s play big boys. This is the opener. Let's get the racing on. Well, that's the calendar, that's what's coming up this year. Just look at that. Here we are at Brands, Alton Park next up, Snetterton, Cadwell, all of these MSV circuits, prime sites for this championship. North of the border for Knockhill, Brands, Thruxton, Cadwell Park again, Aston, and the finale back here. On pole position, the reigning world champions, Ben and Tom Birchall on the Mitchells of Mansfield 600cc Yamaha, their third year with this long 600, so they, better than anyone, know their way around. Here then, runners-up last year, Steve Kershaw, Stuart Clark, now riding under Santander Salt colours on their 1000cc Kawasaki. John Holden and Lee Kane, they'll be off next week to join Birchall in the World Championship in Le Mans. They're very quick on their 600cc Kawasaki. Gary Bryan on the GBM Kawasaki under new colours this year, no longer in the Santander Salt team. And further down the Audi, Ricky Stevens and Ryan Charlton. Watch the lights at the top of your picture, away they go. An absolutely cracking start by Ben and Tom Birchall. Indeed, John Holden sweeping through. Gary Bryan got an absolute flyer. He and Phil Hyde have really clicked. They're in second place now, heading up the hill on the GBM Kawasaki. Gary Bryan racing. There we go then. The blue machinery, Matt McLaurin with Rick Lawrence on board on that Yamaha. Down they go into Graham Hill Bend. Look at this fantastic array of colours here in glorious sunshine here at Brands Hatch on the 1.2 mile Indy Circuit. The short track, 15 laps scheduled ahead of these boys. And they're number 6 carrying the red plate there. These 600s have to be identified with a red background. Todd Ellis and Charlie Richardson. On board with Kershaw and Clark. Underneath John Holden at Paddock Hill Bend. They go in fast on the brakes. Up to third then, behind Gary Bryan and Phil Hyde. Ahead of them, Gary Bryan looking ever so good. Second place, and a strong second place. Steve Kershaw and Stuart Clark know that they've got to wind in the Birchalls as quickly as possible. They had an accident with the outfit testing in France at Val de Vienne. It's had a complete front end rebuild and the geometry is not set up. They've been fiddling with it all through practice and qualifying to get it to handle. Middle of the pack there, number 7, Brian Gray and Jason Pitt. There's Kershaw. The Barnes Silicon Racing Kawasaki of John Holden and Lee Kane. Race leaders, Ben and Tom Birchall on lap 3. Rupert Archer there with Tom Bryant, number 70. Phil Bell with Stuart Ramsey on board on that very quick Kawasaki. Rupert Archer now riding an Adolph RS chassis as opposed to an LCR. Just about everybody else on the Lewis Christian racing bike, but he's got the Adolph, as indeed as Tim Reeves, but Tim Reeves not here. Looking now with Todd Ellis. Todd Ellis having a good look underneath Rupert Archer, and this is where the battle is. There is Rupert Archer and Tom Bryant on your left, but the big bike quick. Rest of the pack, there's Ricky Stevens and Ryan Charwood. They've moved to 600cc power as well. Getting that bike sorted out, they've had fuel mapping issues. It's been misfiring, not running that smoothly, so a complete change for so many of the crews this year, not just with capacity but also with passengers. Sean and Anthony Hilditch in the yellow and black bike out on the left there. Ian Guy running well in the standings, or rather in the table. Just look at the lead Ben and Tom Birchall have. Gary Bryan, 68, going through. Then Steve Kershaw. So two big bikes chasing the 600. The flowing lines of the Brands Indy Circuit. Short track, ideal for the 600s. And you can see John Holden at the back of this group. Gary Bryan is giving Steve Kershaw something to think about here. Steve and Stuart Clark, they go underneath. He's good on the brakes here. He's got confidence, keeps the front end planted. Up to second place then, Kershaw and Clark. Gary Bryan, Phil Hyde. Phil doing his customary excellent job passengering for Gary Hyde. Now that they've clicked permanently, they'll be doing the TT together as well. Dean Nichols and Kenny Cole into the pits. Looked as though they were complaining about a juddering. The passenger's body language said it's shaking, so Nichols then out of the running. Comes all the way up from down in Devon to every single race. One of the most further travelled of our sidecar competitors. Matt McLaurin and Rick Lawrence then. Lawrence, of course, synonymous with Roger Lovelock, with whom he raced for so many years and indeed won the British Championship in 2009. On board with Ricky Stevens, absolutely flying by, and he's got a major issue here. So that's it, out of it. Stevens and Charlwood on the Quattro Plant JG Speedfit Kawasaki have stopped at the end of pit lane. Just before Paddock Hill Bend, their race is over. McLaurin and Lawrence underneath Rupert Archer at Druids. Looking very, very good. This is quite an, I won't say an ancient, but it's not the youngest R1 Yamaha. There you have it. There's Todd Ellis and Charlie Richardson ahead of Rupert Archer. And again, the Blue Machinery bike looking really, really good. Black and orange flag, so there's an issue there. Potentially there's an issue. I said it's looking good. Obviously all is not well with the Yamaha. Have they seen the flag? They're still going on. That means pull in. There is something amiss with your bike, buddy. On board with the Birchalls then. Just look at the immaculate leathers, all new equipment. And next week they'll be off to do the World Championship opening round to defend their world title in Le Mans. And they'll be competing against Tim Reeves, who is not riding in our championship this year, or certainly hasn't registered for the whole season. Whether or not Tim Reeves will dip his toe in the water and do some of the British Championship remains to be seen. That's it, Matt McLaurin. Not sure why he's got the flag, but he's being waved into the scrutineering area. Something was amiss. Whether it was smoke or what, I don't know. Number 8, Alan Founds and Tom Christie on the 600 Brian Gray power biking Yamaha, being chased by Ian Guy and Johnny Allen. Johnny Allen on board, having a rare outing. Good to see Johnny Allen's smiling face in the paddock, and he's doing an absolutely excellent job with the veteran Ian Guy, who's been doing 1 or 2 hill climbs in recent months. Certainly last season he did a half a dozen or more and plans to do the same. Penultimate lap for Ben and Tom Birchall then. Number 16 on the Mitchells of Mansfield R6 Yamaha. Now they are the LCR, effectively the LCR concessionaires. They look after the parts and servicing for all of these LCR racing chassis in the UK and most of Europe. Number 55, that is Peter O'Neill with Ryan Anderson on board, making a rare trip over from Belfast. Rupert Archer and Todd Ellis. This is a nip and tuck battle, 600 plays 1,000. Who's going to get the verdict? There, Todd Ellis and Chaz Richardson, number 6, and Rupert Archer at the moment is in front. Are they going to go underneath? Yes, they are. Underneath they go. Among the tail enders, number 10, Rod Robinson and Kirsty Hawkswell there. On the final lap, leaders now underway, over the line they go. So chasing down Rupert Archer, it's like a rocket ship in a straight line. It is so quick, that Suzuki. And the 600 Honda of Todd Ellis and Chaz Richardson having a look around the outside. Phil Bell in front. Phil Bell and Stuart Ramsey. Now what's going to happen when we come out of here? Around the outside, looks like Todd Ellis. Race leaders then away with it, 3.4 seconds the gap, heading for the line in the checkered flag. Victory number 1 in the opening encounter here. Kershaw and Clark second place. Gary Bryan and Phil Hyde are on the podium, and now this battle between Ellis and Archer. Archer's got the verdict sweeping round here. What's the youngster going to do? Can he get the 600 up the inside? Rupert Archer's gone wide. Todd Ellis has got the 600 underneath. The sprint down to the line. Surely the big bike will get the verdict, and it does. Number 70, Rupert Archer over the line. Young Tom Bryant having his debut ride with Rupert and loving it. There you have it then, victory confirmed. Ben and Tom Birchall, total race time, just over 12.5 minutes. Confirmed, 2.8 seconds, the final gap from Kershaw and Clark. Bryan and Hyde, that's the podium. And all the C markings there, those are 600 Cup eligible competitors. Ian Guy brought it home in 7th, he'll be pleased with that. Brian Gray, 11th. Kevin Cable, Guy Palsy in 12th, having a really good ride. And Rod Robinson, Kirsty Hawkswell collecting the final point. Ben and Tom Birchall, reigning world champions. That's not a bad way to start, is it?
No, great. Couldn't have asked for anything better so far. You know, that we've worked hard again over winter, as I'm sure everybody has, and just developed it a little bit more. And yeah, really happy with the result, and hopefully we can do a bit more tomorrow.
You've got to be pleased with that podium first event.
Yeah, just a bit, especially when we found out it was all one class now. Some good lads here on 600, so yeah, really happy.
What a cracking opening race here at Brands. Second one coming up. Race 2 forming up on a very wet grid. Gary Horsepole and Ashley Moore in pole position. The track is very wet. We're now very late in the day because the earlier race was scheduled for 2 o'clock in fine weather conditions, and it was brought to a premature halt because this happened. Someone had put down contamination. Look at that. How spectacular is that? 2 outfits heavily into the gravel. Nobody quite knew why. The red flag came out. It transpired that Matt McLaurin and Rick Lawrence's Yamaha had blown up and deposited oil on the track. So we're now at the back of the day. It's really wet. There's been torrential rain since the last Superbike race. And what a ride these guys are going to have in these conditions. We've got 600cc and a couple of short bikes as well. Let's see what happens now when the big boys can't use their horsepower. Watch the lights. Gary Horsepole from pole position. Sean and Anthony Hilditch there. Martin Kirk getting a great start from the front row. Todd Ellis at Paddock Hill Bend. So top 10 bikes in race 1 are reversed on the grid. So the yellow and black of Martin Kirk, number 58, there, getting a bit of a kiss from Steve Kershaw and Stuart Clark charging through. And ironically, in the aborted race, Kershaw had a flyer. Not so this time. Right with him, Pete Founds and Jevon Walmsley, number 72, going through on the short chassis Suzuki. the reigning British F2 champion, Pete Founds, and Jevon Walmsley, very good in these conditions. We've seen how well these smaller bikes go. Alan Founds and Tom Christie, number 8 on the Brian Gray power biking. Todd Ellis, Chaz Richardson going through. And here comes Pete Founds. So the brothers Founds are out there doing well. Kershaw then ahead of Martin Kirk. Brian Gray going well. Dean Nichols and Kenny Cole, number 11. A crash, as you saw in the earlier race, but Ricky Stevens and Ryan Charwood have got the Quattro plant JG Speedfit Kawasaki up and running. They nip underneath Dean Nichols and Kenny Cole, and I need to say at this point that both the Birchall brothers and John Holden and Lee Kane opted not to start this race on the basis that it's at the end of the day, and they've left early to get off to Le Mans because they've got a World Championship race coming up. But through goes Pete Founds. Pete Founds and Jevon Walmsley underneath the fellow 600 competitor Toles and Chaz Richardson, now up to second place, chasing his brother Alan Founds and Tom Christie on the long bike. Both 600s, long chassis, short chassis. That little blue Suzuki is so nimble, it can change direction quickly. Just watch this. Tucking underneath, getting the power down, and away it goes. What an expert in these conditions, Pete Founds. Not for nothing is he the reigning British F2 champion. Todd Ellis, Chaz Richardson, they are defending their 600 Cup crown, but they've got their hands full in these conditions in the damp. On board with Kershaw and Clark. Rocketing up the inside of Todd Ellis. Is he going to surrender the place? Not easily, I can tell you that now. But Kershaw keeps the big bike. Oh dear. Dean Nichols, Kenny Cole, another spin. Everybody started with wet tyres, but I can tell you these 1000cc bikes are a proper handful in these conditions. And we've just seen that Dean Nichols doing a 360 with it. Kershaw and Clark. Molson livery, but riding out of the Santander Salt Alding under the auspices of Roger Body. Underneath, Alan Founds, and making it stick. Alan Founds and Tom Christie, then number 8. Brian Gray, power biking Yamaha out of High Wycombe. The Quattro plant team members on the pit wall watching the progress of Ricky Stevens. Underneath, Ian Guy and Johnny Allen. And this is quick, this 600cc Kawasaki, having a better ride this time. There the pole man, Gary Horsepole, Ashley Moore, being undertaken by Rupert Archer and Tom Bryant on the Hannafin Adolf RS chassis Suzuki. Gary Bryan and Phil Hyde in the thick of the action. On board with Kevin Cable and Guy Pawsey on the L&W bike, and what a fantastic turnout they've got in the paddock. If you get a chance to come along, ladies and gentlemen, then go and have a look at that setup. It is very, very smart indeed. Kevin Cable and Guy Pawsey having a battle with something of a buddy as well, Ian Guy. Ian Guy with Johnny Allen, a shake of the head from Dean Nichols, so a long ride up from Devon, such a shame. Late in the day as well, so it'll be a long ride home to Devon as well. Kevin Cable looking immaculate. He and Guy Pawsey. Passing Ian Guy, Johnny Allen making it stick. I don't think Ian Guy's got an answer for that. Half distance now on lap 6 of 12. Rupert Archer and Tom Bryant, but there the race leader. Pete Founds, Jevon Walmsley ahead of Kershaw and Clark, and here comes Alan Founds. Number 8, Alan Founds and Tom Christie. One of the 3 Christie racing brothers. His other 2 brothers race together. Tom the youngest. Todd Ellis, seeing if he can hold his own, and can he? Yes, he can. Todd Ellis, number 6, and Charlie Richardson, but knowing Alan Founds, these 2 locked horns a fair bit during 2017. Oh, that's cost him time, and it did. Put the sidecar wheel out on the rumble strip there, got it a bit squirrely. Alan Founds saw the opportunity, dived up the inside, at Druids and has taken the place. Now he's got to get across to the left hand of Graham Hill Bend, which he does. Ellison and Charlie Richardson in pursuit. On board with second place, Kershaw and Clark. Still with their long-time sponsors, Express Tyres, and Alan Founds has taken the place. He and Tom Christie using the 600, the nimble 600, to good effect. Could well be. Now this is where Kershaw will come into his own. He can get the power down, and the superior horsepower, you would have thought, of the big bike should slingshot him past at Paddock Hill Bend, but no, that is not the case. He's having to shadow Alan Founds. The flame-spitting Quattro plant, JG Speedfit, Kawasaki of Ricky Stevens and Ryan Charlwood. And there, oh dear me, what was that? That was Neville Jones. Neville Jones and Rob Child spinning out, and they did very, very well, the two outfits behind, to miss them, because they were right in their line of sight. Founds and Christie, number 8, coming up behind Sean and Anthony Hilditch. Local crew, father and son crew. The plan is for young Anthony to take over the handlebars at some stage in his career, but it doesn't look like it's going to be this season. Kershaw and Clark then on the final lap among the tailenders. But there is your race leader. An absolutely flawless performance from Pete Founds and Jevon Walmsley on that little DDM Suzuki. We don't usually see 600cc Suzukis, but Dave Molyneux, of course, from the Isle of Man, campaigned one very successfully for a couple of seasons, and in fact took TT wins with the Suzuki engine. Has tried a number of engines over the years, but this little one in the hands of Pete Founds and Jevon Walmsley doing an absolutely brilliant job here, taking victory in, I have to say, adverse conditions, and they have played into the hands of this expert F2 short chassis exponent. Pete Founds and Jevon Walmsley take the checkered flag. Victory in the absence of Ben and Tom Birchall. Second, his brother Alan. Over the line in third, Kershaw and Clark. So that is the podium. They've got to be thrilled with that brilliant time. 12 minutes of racing. Thumbs up for the brothers. They're good, aren't they? Class act. Absolutely fantastic. There you go then. 2 600s head the field home. Kershaw and Clark the fastest of the big bikes, but they're on the podium. And if my sums are right, they will go away from here leading the championship. Ellison Richardson, Simon Gilbert and young Jack Tritton, terrific. We didn't see much of them in the race, but 5th is a fantastic debut for them. And there you have it. Pete Founds and Jevon Walmsley, victory in the second race here at Brands in conditions that played into the hands of the short outfit, but you rode really well. Congratulations.
Cheers, thank you. Yeah, as you say, it was Formula 2 weather out there really, and the big boys were struggling for grip, as were we, but I guess we were a bit bolder, I guess, in them conditions, and a little bit more forgiving, the Formula 2s than the long bikes, so yeah, played into our hands. Great stuff.
There it is then, 36 points, Kershaw and Clark on top. Founds and Christie, Founds and Walmsley. The Founds brothers there, second and third. Birchall's, they'll be back at Alton Park. Ellis, 5th place. That's pretty good for the youngster. And there, the cup standings. Founds and Christie lead it. Birchall's in third. Ellis, the defending champion, 4th. Well, the Hyundai Construction Equipment Championship is go for 2018. We've had 2 cracking races in totally different conditions, and it just goes to show that when the rain comes down, everything can be turned upside down. Alton Park is next up in 2 weeks' time. Thank you for watching this. Kershaw's lead the championship. See you then.